Okay, Ron, so we're taking a look at your swing from the other day here. On the left, I've drawn a box kind of from the middle of your ankles up through the middle of your shoulders. This kind of is surrounding the hip area so we can see kind of what the lateral motion's like. Also a box around your head so we can keep an eye on that. And then on the right here, I've drawn a line on your shaft which represents the swing plane, a line on your rear end to see how stable the lower body is maintaining its the inclination of your spine, and also on your a line from your tailbone up through C7 at the top of your spine, so we can watch how well you're able to maintain your spine angle throughout the lesson. So as we start to move into the takeaway here, we're going to start to move this forward, and the very first thing we see as we look over here on the right is that the club immediately starts to get under the plane fairly quickly. Your hands do a great job staying on the plane, but the club definitely gets under the swing plane fairly quickly, and I think a lot of what this has to do with is that the club's just not tracing the plane at the beginning of the startup, and it's not hinging up enough early enough. Can you get a little bit under and still play fairly well? Sure you can, but it would be better if we could get this takeaway just a little bit better and more on plane, in my opinion. So now as we watch the club go to parallel to the ground here, you can see you just got a lot of width there on the left. Your hips are staying pretty centered. Your head looks like it's staying in the box fairly well at this point. So as we continue to scroll this up into where your arm gets parallel to the ground, the one thing I like is that when you get to this position on the left there, you can see the club's almost set at 90 degrees there, so it is starting to hinge now. But what we do see is that your head starts to move outside the box a little bit there. And basically all that means is that you're not side tilting your spine to the left enough. So you're staying in flexion, forward flexion too long, and that is allowing your head to move outside the box as you continue to turn into the backswing. Now when we look at the right picture here, I really love the way this looks. You can see the club's on the swing plane angle, your arms across your body, the hands are going more in and behind you, and I really like the way this looks. You can see as well on the right that your hips are turning nicely, the back leg starts to straighten, the left knee starts to bend a little bit more as your hips continue to rotate, and you keep your lower body centered. So we'll take a look at this as we scroll just a little further to the top, and we get right to the top here. And this is a really good position for you. The only thing that I really see overall is that on the left, like I said, your upper body stays bent over in flexion too long. It makes your head move outside the box just a little bit. And now as we start to move forward, what we're looking for on the left is that your hips are starting to push forward, maybe starting to get outside the box a little bit, and we can see that your knee starts to move forward, your hips start to move forward, and this is a really good position starting out. It's going to help your arms start to drop back down to the plane, and as these start to move forward, you can see your hips are moving forward, and now what we'd really like to see is the legs start to straighten up a little bit. The legs stay bent just a little bit too long as it starts to get down into where your arm gets back to parallel to the ground. And now even as the club starts to get parallel to the ground here, we can still see a lot of flexion in your legs here. You really at this point you need to start feeling like you're using the ground to push off and just kind of straighten the legs at this point. It's going to help you stay in your inclination. You can see on the right now your rear end starts to move closer to the ball. You start to lose your spine angle as your upper body starts to straighten instead of your lower body. And now as we get closer and closer to the ball, on the right you can see the club's approaching from just a little under the plane, which is telling you it's coming from the inside, which is nice. And on the left, as you look at this, you can see your hands start to get to the ball before the club, but it's catching up pretty quick as we get into impact. And now you can start to see the shaft get pretty straight up and down in the picture in the left there. The hands start to get just a little bit flipped, and a lot of this comes from the fact that the legs aren't straightening enough to bring the hips out of their flexion and into extension so they can continue to turn. If you look at the picture on the right, there's not much rotation in your lower and upper body, and it's mostly because of the fact that you're staying bent over too long. So we need to start working on getting you into extension better. The sequence of the downswing of the lower body is a hip slide, a straightening of the legs, and then the turn of the body. So we got to get the straightening up to happen a little quicker so you can continue to turn, and that's going to help take some of this flip out of your swing. As long as you can continue to rotate on the inside, the outside will always be trailing. So overall, you know, it's not too bad. Like you said, you shot a 73. Your head looks like it's staying in a pretty good position there on the left, and what we see on the right is just that your upper body's starting to stand up more or come out of its spine inclination. And now we'll just go ahead and wind this through to the finish. You can see over here on the right, the club stays out in front of you pretty nice. It's right on the swing plane, you know, and then as it starts to exit your body here on the right, you can see it comes right out the middle of your arm. It's a good place. The one thing that I see, though, as we look at the picture on the left, is the arms don't look like they're extending very well here. The left arm looks like it's kind of starting to break down. The right arm doesn't look very extended. Your hands look really close to you. They're just not, there's not much extension here in the arms. I sure would like to see these arms stay a lot straighter. And then as we continue around into the finish position, you can see the club's right on the swing plane angle there on the right. Looks really good. And really what I see on the left is just no extension. You've lost your spine inclination, and everything just looks really, really crunched together here. You know, it just doesn't look like you have much room to turn through. And then as you get up into the finish, you know, we can see the right foot is kind of straight up and down on the toe. We really like to see that banked in just a little bit more, and you're completely out of your spine inclination here on the right as well. So, you know, talking about the things that would make the biggest difference for you is staying on the plane a little bit more at the beginning, side tilting to the left with your spine more in the backswing, so your spine comes out of its flexion, goes into extension. That's going to help you keep your head more still. And then as we move into the downswing, we just need to be pushing the hips forward, straightening the legs so that you can continue to turn through in the downswing and into the finish. So I hope you enjoyed this video a little bit better than the others. I'm going to wrap this up and see if we can get it uploaded for you.